When when I lived in Atlanta, so we went to a basketball game one time when LeBron James was coming to play, and we got there really early just because we were like riding the bus and stuff. So we were there 2 hours before tip-off, and there was a handful of people on the basketball court, right? And LeBron James was one of them, and guess what LeBron James was doing? He was shooting layups, which if you know anything about basketball, that's the most basic thing in basketball. And he did it for like 20 minutes, just like the little layup. I'm like, that's why he's the best player in the world. He's practicing the basics right there. So with nutrition, the trap is you can get all really out there and do all these kinds of crazy, and maybe even what one someone called extreme or very super specific ketogenic fasting. And I'm a fan of all those things, but ultimately, if you don't have the foundations and the basics down, it's going to be short-lived, it's going to be not as effective, and ultimately you're not going to be actually healing. So this whole nutrition process here is about your body healing properly, not just looking good, all those things, although of course you're healing properly, that will happen. So we're going to have a special focus on inflammation tonight, and then also some gut health stuff and how that really pertains to just your overall health, but even weight loss a little bit. But before we get started, I always like to just keep things in perspective, that this whole thing that you receive here as a patient, and what I talk about as the Max Living Delivery System, is a system, okay? It's not just, well, if you want to get the most out of it anyways, it's not just sort of picking and choosing what is convenient for you or what you want to do. It really is the 5 essentials, and that they're not the 5, good ideas or the 5, pick 3 right, get them all, right? Like it's all 5 together. Because missing one component of these, I tell you what, and it's been very interesting lately how many people I've come across that have been diagnosed with severe disease. And the reason why they're coming to me is because, a lot of times, and they don't know it from this terminology, but they're doing 4 of these things or 3 of these things very well, but they're still getting diagnosed with something like cancer or a really severe autoimmune disease. So it's just helping me more and more reinforce how important. So you got to have a proper functioning nervous system. You got to be feeling your body properly. You got to be thinking positive thoughts, right? There's a whole book that I just ordered called You Are the Placebo, and they're talking about all kinds of cases of people all around the world that literally did nothing as far as changing their health, but they changed their thoughts and they reversed just crazy diseases, okay? You got to move your body and get oxygen into it, and then you got to minimize toxins. So those are the 5 essentials. And I tell you, I don't have a cure for everything, but I've never not seen someone succeed in either improving their health or radically reversing it when they apply all 5 of these at the same time. And that's the other key, is at the same time. It's not like I'm going to do chiropractic now and then I'll do nutrition, or I'm going to do these 3, but then I'll do oxygen and toxins later on. It's like you do them all from the get-go. They don't all have to be perfect, but the goal is you work on chipping away at these things a little bit by little bit. It's taken me now 12 years to get where I am, with how kind of doing this sort of becomes second nature. I don't have to think about it. I actually have to think about not doing it, if that makes sense, in order to get that. So you just got to keep plugging away at this. Here's one of my favorite pictures. As I was preparing for this, I used to always use this one, but I think a picture's worth a million words, right? Which one of these people, based on how you're living your life right now, are you moving towards? Which kind of life? Where are you going to be in 10 years or 40 years, depending on how old you are? Which one are you going to be? And it is that black and white. Since it's not that black and white. It is. From my experience, it is that black and white. You're either living a life that's moving you towards health and vitality, or disease and your body breaking down. So part of tonight is like a little bit of a self-check. And it's not to beat yourself up, but it's to look for opportunities into where you can improve where your overall health is going. So when it comes to nutrition, certainly this, along with all aspects of health, have, I would say it's fair to say, significant barriers. Let's not minimize them too much, because a lot of the reason they're a barrier for you and they're holding you back from doing what you're supposed to, so they're clearly big enough, all right? Even if it might be small for someone else. So what are they? Finances are a big one. Right? So that kind of food costs more, which I'm not going to deny that that's true. It is true. How do I know that this is the right way versus the 50,000 other ways that I've either seen my friends do or I read about on the internet? or maybe like, I tried things similar like this before, but I didn't get the results, or it was just too hard, or I felt deprived, or whatever it is, right? They're all the excuses. So what I want everybody to do that's taking notes right now, and if you're not, do it anyways, I want you to write down what is your number one excuse, whatever it is, and it's your excuse or your mental barrier from eating exactly the way that you want to be eating right now. So go ahead and write down, just be honest. If you can't be honest with yourself, you'll never succeed, so there's no judgment. Now what I want you to do is, I want you to, right below that, write down a counter thought to that, right? So let's say you wrote cost, okay? Then I would suggest right under there, nothing is more expensive than heart disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, dementia, and you want me to go on and on and on, right? Like all that is more expensive than $5.99 grass-fed beef per pound. You know what I'm saying? Like, not even cold a candle to that. Or maybe it's too hard, and it's like, well, maybe that wasn't the truth. Maybe you weren't prepared enough. I mean, you didn't lay out and have the right strategy going into it, okay, the right clarity on that. Or maybe it didn't work for you before, and it's like, was it that the plan didn't work, or that you didn't work the plan, right? So it didn't work for me. Well, maybe you need to work the plan better. So just write down the counter thought to that. And that's something you need to, remember, this is a game. It's a game in between here. That's why they're called mental barriers. You got to change it in between the ears right there. For those of you that need leverage financial-wise, check this out. You can put this in your pipe and smoke it. A 65-year-old couple, okay, and this is based on research, okay, that was done a couple years ago, so the number's gone up. 65-year-old couple, retirement age, would need almost $160,000 in liquid savings or assets just to have a 50% chance of paying your medical bills and not die, and basically be able to outlive your money, okay? To outlive your money. And that's only a 50% chance, right? So if you want to have a 90% chance of prevention, you need to have over $250,000 asset-wise to be able to do that. Just a 90% chance. Otherwise, what this means, you die bankrupt, right? Or you go bankrupt before you die. Now listen, this is very sobering, but remember, these are statistics based on averages. What's the average health of an American? It sucks, it's terrible. So, so there's two ways you can look at this, or I guess three. Number one, you could just not spend anything and try to save as much money as possible, although you might only be one diagnosis from dying anyways, right? Paul Allen, the guy at Microsoft, co-founder of Microsoft, $20 billion net worth, died of cancer, couldn't save him. So you may not ever be able to accumulate enough money in the face of disease, okay? Or what you could realize is that a little bit each year, you could invest in your health that probably wouldn't even add up to this, I mean, depending on what you age are or whatever, right? And realize that I know people, and I've hundreds of patients and worked with hundreds of patients over the years that are in this so-called retirement age, and they're not spending much other than a little bit of chiropractic care and a little bit of healthy food right on top of what they would be doing. And by this is after Medicare coverage. So Medicare is not the magic bullet, and that's even assuming it's going to be around in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, right? So then you're really screwed if that doesn't happen. And you can see that by 2030, so couples that are in their 50s right now, you need $400K. That's how, because of the cost of healthcare going up. So if you're looking at your income, right? And you're like, and you're doing math, and you're like, I don't think I'm going to be able to get there or close to that by the time I retire. Well, then you better make a plan B, which is invest the best asset you got is your health. It'll return more than your 401k. It'll return more than an IRA, guaranteed every single time. Okay? So I just want to set the tone for that. So that's.
If you don't have your health, what do you have? I mean, at the end of the day, first of all, we can't predict how many years we're going to get on this earth. But I do know this. People want to have a great quality of life for every single year that they are blessed to be here. I have libraries worth of books on nutrition and on fitness and on chiropractic, but I wanted to put together really what is the healthcare delivery system that I believe has gotten the best results for the people that I've seen in clinical practice, that really helps them see that the body was designed to heal itself in the first place. You know, if I could summarize the changes for which I advocate in the book, absolutely as a chiropractor, I'm big on taking care of the structure of your body. You know, we need to make sure that we're healthy from the inside out, not just that we're throwing the right foods at an unhealthy system. Balancing the spine, balancing the nervous system, make sure that the body is well taken care of so that the body is best equipped to heal itself because there's no physical interference, and that the nervous system can function the way it was designed to without stress. We have seen tens of thousands of success stories of the people that have applied these principles. We know it works. Align Your Health actually does feature 6 awesome success stories of people that have had radical transformations of their health, but that is just scratching the surface of the number of people who've already transformed their lives using these principles. It says right on the cover of the book that it's about achieving a healthy, fulfilled life, and the two go hand in hand. More and more people, you know, at the end of the day, no matter how much money they make or no matter what kind of job they get, they want fulfillment, they want enjoyment. That's time with their family, that's time with loved ones. But I will also tell you, you can't have a fulfilled life if you're not healthy. And unfortunately now I've worked with far too many patients and clients throughout the years that can have everything that they possibly could have, both from a material perspective and from a family perspective and from a social perspective. But if they don't have their health, they don't enjoy that fulfillment. So the two go hand in hand. And really, ultimately, we want people achieving both of them.
So, pause for a second, time out. You all have this resource, and if you don't, we'll get it for you tonight, okay? So, part of why you have probably not succeeded in the past is you have untapped usage of the resources that are in front of you. I don't know what to eat to lose weight, Dr. Barnes. It's in the freaking book, all right? So, I mean, I'm gonna simplify this very succinctly for you tonight, but if you are left with a question of, can I eat this? I'd be more than happy to answer that, but I'm going to also say that's in appendix blah, blah, blah of the book, okay? Like, and part of it is I want you to go in the book because it's like the more you are, pun intended, digesting this information and assimilating it, the more successful you're going to be in your journey, all right? But like literally everything that I'm going to cover nutrition-wise tonight is in this book, all right? Pretty much, okay? So, but not to steal my thunder, but it's okay, all right? So here are the 4 things that are the 4 major changes that need to happen to have a successful and diet. I don't really like that word. Let's just call it more of a healthy way of eating for the rest of your life. All right, this is a lifestyle. We're going to clean up your carbs, fix your fats, perfect your proteins, and then trash your toxins. How's that for catchy? Okay, clean the carbs, fix the fats, perfect your proteins, and trash the toxins. So the big thing with nutrition, all right, that we're all working towards eliminating and lowering down based on the research and how it destroys and damages our bodies is inflammation. So the 3 most common things, and this fits right in with those 4 changes that we talked about, was lowering sugar, changing your damaged fats for healthy fats, and then removing toxins from your system. So in terms of sugar, the average American, okay, and this is men, women, and children, all averaged out, consume 156 pounds of sugar per year. Add on top of that 63 pounds of high fructose corn syrup. And this is a little outdated. I've seen this might be up around 90 pounds now. They're still kind of getting the final stats on that. So meaning we'd be well, and then actually this has gotten down a little bit, and this has gone up, which this stuff, if you're not aware, the high fructose corn syrup is way worse than even sugar, okay, because it's like liquid. Jet fuel, you know, thrown inside of your body there. So just insane amounts, and of course, even a couple of generations ago, on average, the average American consumed about 1/10 of that. Okay, so about 15 pounds of sugar in a year. Right, we're consuming 10 times that. So is there any surprise? We're fatter, sicker, more inflamed, more arthritic, dying of chronic disease faster. We may be living longer because we have sanitation and other things in some ways, but we're definitely not living any better. And with more fulfillment of life, as Dr. Hardick talked about on that video there. So here's why this is such a major issue in terms of weight gain or hormone issues. So here's a little diagram of what a chart on a cell membrane looks like, all right? The little orange circles there representing glucose molecules, sugar, and then blue is insulin. So in a body, how this works is insulin is what helps sugar go into the cells for fuel and for energy. It'll bind to the cell and it'll kind of open up a little channel and the glucose can kind of go right through there, all right? So this is a normal situation. There's plenty of receptors to handle all that sugar. Now, what happens in chronic overconsumption of sugar, which if you're in this room and you're American, you all have chronic overconsumption of sugar, or you at least had for a significant portion of your life, myself included, okay? So you have a dramatic increase in blood sugar level, all right? And then what happens is that, so the body is smart and it knows that if it does not get the sugar out of your bloodstream, you're gonna die. So it's gonna produce more insulin then from the pancreas to then keep these channels flowing open all day long. But what happens is that these receptors have essentially a tolerance limit, so they can only handle so many times over the course of a day, week, month, year, whatever, opening up, closing down. And what happens is they literally begin to die off and essentially burn out. Or down-regulate is the technical term for that. And so now then what happens, right, your blood sugar steadily starts going up because it can't get into the cells as it's supposed to. And that's the only way. And then if the system starts to fail, then you might be able to you'll urinate it out, but then you're really in trouble if you're getting sugar in your urine. So medicine comes along, you have high blood sugar, your A1C is up, or your blood sugar is way up. So great, what we'll do is we'll give you these medications, which is gonna chemically then just start shoving, right? It's like if you ever try to pack your car, right? And you got too much stuff, you're sitting there, you're just trying to shove it in there, and eventually it's like you're not getting it out. And then the body starts to, it can't counteract for that. So then their next step is, like now we're just gonna give you more insulin. It's that same process then where they're now shooting artificial insulin into your system and to shove it in there even more. The problem is there's not as much place to go and the cells become damaged. And then the body is perfect in a normal situation of making the exact amount of insulin that you need for the food that you eat. So when you start artificially shoving that in there, it just causes damage. That's why you see if a diabetic does not change their lifestyle, it ends in really a horrific last 5 to 10 years of their life. Limbs getting chopped off, heart disease, cancer, it's brutal, all right? And it's because the body just cannot keep up with that over time. So the more carbs and the more sugar you eat, the more it's gonna cause insulin production in your body. Because of that, you're gonna become less and less responsive. Think of like, if your spouse just yells at you all the time, or maybe your boss might be a better example. If your boss is always yelling at you day in, day out, like eventually you're just gonna start tuning that jerk out, right? Because it's just not fun to hear that. So that's kind of that process here. They get less and less responsive and sensitive to it. So then of course you have more sugar in your system. And the more sugar in your system, you're gonna have more hormone issues, more fat storage, more inflammation. You're gonna age faster through a process called glycation, and then AKA health problems. Now if we contrast that in an ideal situation, consuming less carbs, therefore less sugar, your body's gonna produce less insulin, which means then it's gonna become more and more sensitive and responsive to what you're producing. So of course your sugar is gonna go down, and then there you're gonna see the exact opposite of everything I showed before. It's really, again, I made it in black and white because it is that black and white, okay, as far as that's how your body works, or that's how you, I guess, can sort of fail your body from that standpoint. So here are the top 10 reasons to avoid sugar, if there were only 10, but these are the top 10, not just the only 10. Primary cause of obesity, I think that is common knowledge by now. It also increases acidity in the body, causes inflammation. Primary reason for high cholesterol, not fat, reason for high cholesterol. It causes hormone and metabolic imbalances. Of course, everybody knows it causes diabetes. It's a known toxin. It leads to heart disease. It's an anti-nutrient, which means that it blocks the absorption of other nutrients. If you like, my favorite example to explain is you're having a salad, a good thing. You put like Catalina on there, right? And it's like there's high fructose corn syrup in there. Like your body is going to be physically unable to absorb the nutrients from that salad. Not maybe all 100%, but it'll make it more difficult. So you might as well just dump the Catalina down your throat instead and save yourself the time. And it also promotes cancer.
How quickly does that effect that you just described?
When sugar hits your tongue, 4 seconds, it'll start raising your blood sugar. So all that process starts.
So like if you have, let's say you eat a nice healthy meal, you're at a restaurant or you're at home, and you eat a real healthy meal, but you drink it down with a big
Yeah.
Coca-Cola.
So it takes 2 hours fully, roughly, to get absorbed out of your stomach. So if it's within 2 hours, it would start immediately.
And so essentially, the nutrition that you would have gotten from that meal
It's going to
was
be impaired.
big deal.
Yeah, it's going to be affected. So this is a PhD, Thomas Seyfried. He is out of MIT, I believe, or one of those really nerdy institutions up in the Northeast, Ivy League. This guy is the foremost researcher, okay, and he's got the top lab in the country as far as measuring how cancer is affected by what you eat, or in this case, how your body is metabolizing things. And so what he has found in his research is that a cancer cell has 4 times the amount of receptor sites for sugar on their cell walls. So meaning they love sugar. They are fed by sugar. So he has found that out. He has also found that when you remove sugar from mammals and through studies that cancer cells literally die off. Because that's, again, if you're not getting your primary fuel, it's like if you got a plant, right? And you didn't give it water, sunlight, and all that kind of stuff, that plant is going to die. Well, I know it's weird to think of like a cancer cell like a healthy thing like a plant, but it's the same thing. If you don't give cancer what it needs to grow and thrive, well then it's going to shrivel up and die just like everything else. So I have a colleague who is going through cancer, some really aggressive cancer stuff right now. And he's doing really well, doing natural protocols. So he's got, of course, got all these people, both kind of lay people and other professionals asking him, like, what are you doing? Like, what's the takeaway from all this? And he said, the number one takeaway that I've gotten from everything that I'm going through is that, yes, cancer is beatable, but the number one way to cure cancer is to not get cancer in the first place. And so he recommended all of his friends and all these people on this little blog thing, eat and live in such a way as if you had cancer. Now, that's the best way to not get it, okay? So it's a total preventative standpoint. Now, you can't predict everything about the future, but you can absolutely stack the deck in your favor in those cases. Now, the trap, of course, with sugar is thinking of Coke, candy, right? Halloween coming up, cakes, things like that. Only 1/3 of the sugar that Americans consume come from what we call obvious sources, like the things that like everybody in America would know that has sugar in it. 2/3 of your consumption comes from things that convert and turn into sugar inside of your body. Crackers, fruit juices, yogurts, which have lots of high fructose corn syrup in there. A lot of the store-bought soups. Oatmeal turns to sugar within a few seconds of hitting your tongue. All rice does, potatoes do. Most fruits go like that crazy in your body. Salad dressings, bagels, pizza crust, mayonnaise, like condiments. Canned foods, you'll be surprised, start looking at your labels. Lunch meats, you'll be surprised, start looking at the labels. And pasta, same thing. It's carb and carb only. So, you might be like me when I first saw a list like this, and you're like, that's everything that I eat. And then it's like, okay, well then that might also explain a few things about your health then, if that's everything that you eat or the majority of what you eat, right? And this is the standard American diet right here, summed up. I mean, you throw a little bit of, protein sources in there, right? A little bit of other things. Like that is the majority of what Americans eat. Why? Because a lot of these things on here, like pasta, potatoes, rice, breads, things like that, right? That is the bottom of the food pyramid, right? Those are the things that we are told to consume to the largest degree. Well, at a certain point, you have to look at who these so-called experts are, not even who they are, but what they're suggesting, and then what results they're getting, and be like, well, regardless of what they say or what they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes, the results don't add up. It's like if there was this financial investing firm, right? And like everybody that invests with this company loses 20% every single year, regardless of how sexy their ads are or how smart they might seem. Do you see how it makes 0 sense to put money with them, right? That's essentially what the food industry is doing, is they're losing year after year, and we're losing, unfortunately, because of our health, but they keep sort of like upping the ante as far as like how intense we should be following their recommendations, right? It's sad, okay? I'm not gonna go into why, blah, blah, blah. I'd just say maybe, why is it that way? Maybe follow the money. That's probably the easiest way to do it. So one major myth here is that you're looking at this, that's exactly what I just talked about, 5 to 8 servings of grains every single day for a healthy diet. And not just grains, but whole grains, right? Like that's what we all heard forever. The problem is that modern grains and modern wheat, and these are ones that have been hybridized by food scientists. That means they like selectively breed things together to get what they want. It's not the same grain or bread that Jesus talks about in the Bible. Okay, let's just cut that straight. Like, every now and then I get this like super hardcore like Christian to like, but Jesus said, you know, it's in the Bible, eat bread, and I'm like, well, maybe if you ate his bread, it'd probably be okay, all right? But I also don't think Jesus had, you know, seven slices of toast every single morning. He might have had a little bit of bread that went around. You know, I'm joking. Okay, you guys get it. Okay. The point is, it's not the same thing. All right. And on top of that, the biggest issue is that it's not only hybridized, but grains in our food industry are the number one or one of the top pesticide and herbicide sprayed foods. Specifically, with something called glyphosate or Roundup, right? That's the number one. What is that? Herbicide, right? Or herbicide? There's the active ingredient there is called glyphosate, which we're beginning to just see the tip of the iceberg as far as the research coming out on how it's killing us. And in fact, one thing that's sort of blown this wide open was that there was a gentleman that worked for Monsanto. He sprayed this all day long, that just won a lawsuit for like millions and millions and millions of dollars. I think it was like 100 million. I forget the number now. Because in the courtroom, they proved that the Roundup, the glyphosate, causes terminal cancer. So like, because he sprayed it all day long, he is now going to be dead in a matter of time, right? So this is what you are eating all day long, because it's extremely prevalent. It's the most prevalent chemical in our food supply. So this is why organic, okay, unless you think, you know, the best way to, you know, get money is to get terminal cancer from glyphosate, right? Then, but, you know, it'll be tied up. And he actually probably will never see the money, because they'll just keep tying up in court for, you know, trying to get the appeal process and all that. He probably won't even see the money before he dies, unfortunately. So it's a win for the rest of us, not probably that actually big of a win for him. So what kind of grains do you eat? No grains. What kind of grain can I have? The no-grain grain, right?
No.
The grain that's not a grain.
What about the Ezekiel bread?
Yeah, I mean, I still don't eat it, because even if it's not, because it is organic and whatever, it's still inflammatory, right? Grain, it's still hybridized.
Oh.
So no bread. No bread in my household. 0. So what kind of carbs do you eat then? Vegetables. Go figure, right? What a concept. Here is a chart that Dr. Joel Furman, I believe, put together, and it was looking at overall nutritional value of certain foods. And so, for example, I don't even know how cola got a 1, but they got a 1, okay? But contrast that with kale, which got 1,000. Now, kind of look at this chart here, just to kind of really, it was a conglomeration of a bunch of nutritional factors. So it's a score chart he made up.
Oh, okay.
But just to show that from a nutritional standpoint, right? 1 bowl of spinach, you have to eat 14 bowls of oatmeal to get the same amount of nutritional value as 1 bowl of spinach.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why vegetables are the primary source of what I eat. I don't juice them, I more blend them in the morning. I have a salad at lunch. I do a greens powder in between meals, right? And I always have a vegetable for dinner. So, I mean, honestly, I probably get around 20 to 30 servings of vegetables a day in one form or the other.
Wow.
Yep. So what kind of carbs can I have? You can have vegetables, that's what you can have, right? Let's just make this real simple tonight. What kind of grains? No grains. What kind of carbs? Vegetables, all right? Now, for sweeteners, the only one I really recommend, and this is still in extreme moderation, is stevia. Because although stevia, it's from an herb, right? It's a plant. What I like about stevia is that it does not raise your blood sugar. Okay, so it keeps your blood sugar down, so it's great not only if you're a diabetic, if you need a sweetener, keep your blood sugar down, but it's great if you don't want to become a diabetic, okay? The reason why, though, I still say in moderation is that it is a little bit of a hack and a trick, and because it does taste very sweet, it does trick your body in a little bit, but not completely, so it still will secrete a little bit of insulin along with it. So like if you use it too much, you could still kind of hurt your body if you're using, I'm saying if you're using this all day, every day, all right? So you still want to keep this to a lower amount in your body. But it's a great alternative, a great substitute, a great thing to use other than If you put a little in your coffee, put a little bit of this instead, right? If you bake and you put normally a cup of sugar, there's equivalents for putting a little bit of stevia instead of that.
What do you put on your vegetables? I saw
Butter and salt.
I saw olive oil was like a 2.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is just one, like a certain nutritional value. I mean, I can't remember the exact formula of how he made this. It's just, but yeah. That would be, might be certain vitamin and mineral content, but I put butter, I do put olive oil on some of my vegetables though, for sure too, yeah. They have fatty acids in there, so there's good benefits from that. Good question. If you want to know more about this chart, look up Joel Furman nutritional chart. He'll probably go more into how they came with those scores from that. All right, so fats. Fats have been vilified like crazy in our society, dating back to the 50s and the 60s. It really got jump-started when Eisenhower, who was in office at the time as president, had a heart attack. And then that gave a lot of leverage for certain, let's just call it interest groups, to throw fat under the bus as far as the cause of that. Again, we can go back to the money, I'm not going to get into that. So the problem is not that you're eating too much fat, is you're eating the wrong kinds of fats, and you're eating too many of the wrong kinds of fats. So we're going to very simply call them bad fats, all right? Very simple enough, okay? So the problem, and so what are bad fats? They are hydrogenated, partially hydrogenated, so anything that says that in front of it, cottonseed oil, soybean oil, and anything that says vegetable oil. I don't know about you, but I've never been able to squeeze my vegetables hard enough to make oil come out of there, right? So it's just it's a crock, okay? Trans fats would be anything made in a lab, margarine, or anything synthetic butter. Like, I can't believe it's not butter. Well, I can believe it because it's not butter. Okay? There's nothing man has ever made in a lab that was better than what either an animal made or what God originally designed it for it to be, okay? So other would be these rancid vegetable oils, so corn oil, canola oil, again, like I said, anything vegetable oil, which is going to be pretty much to some degree in every single packaged, boxed, prepared meal. So one of my other nutritional principles that's not on here, but it just made me think of that, is that if it makes noise when you open it or you get it through a window of your car, you probably shouldn't be having it.
What?
If it makes noise when you open it, your food, or you receive it through a window sitting in your car, there's no way it adds health and value to your life, okay? Now, why is this so important? Every single one of the cells in your body has what's called a lipid bilayer, okay? And that means lipid means fat, bi means two. So there's 2 layers of fat that make up the cell wall. It's a very specialized thing. It allows nutrients to go through, waste to come out. And so basically the healthier the healthy fats that you eat are going to eventually become and make up and compose this cell wall right here. So you have to ask yourself, do you want sick cells or do you want healthy cells? If you want healthy cells, well, then you need to have good healthy fats, because if this is not a good transport system, that process cannot flow freely. And then of course, as the cell wall becomes abnormal, think about the waste can comes out, DNA begins to mutate within the cell. Mutated cells become abnormal cells. Abnormal cells have a higher chance of turning into cancer, all right? Which is interesting why, then there have been many studies that have shown that high intake of omega-3 fatty acids, fish oil, which would be a good fat, has been shown to decrease cancer risks, really by a lot, okay? So that's why, because it helps to make your cells healthier. So what are some good fats? I mean, there's a bunch here. The most common ones that I think people would consume on a regular basis. Anything coconut-based, butter, avocado, ghee, chia hemp, olives, olive oil, non-toxic fish oil, wild-caught fish, 100% grass-fed beef, and nuts that are raw. Quick fun fact.
Are nuts that are salted,
Those are be roasted. Yeah.
and that's not good?
They're not as good. No. Yeah. Now, if you're eating roasted nuts versus a Snickers bar, it's probably the least of your concern. You know what I mean, as far as nutritional value. But raw nuts have way more nutritional value. Okay. Quick fun fact: avocado, fruit, vegetable, or something else? Yeah, it's a fruit. I always forgot that. I'm like, oh yeah, it is a fruit. So if you're like, what kind of fruit can I eat? Well, you can have avocados.
You're not saying we can't have fruit, right?
We'll get there.
Oh.
I'm not saying anything, I'm saying you get to decide based on what your goals are. All right, so.
No, I know you are. I
Yeah,
understand.
so what do they heal? Well, it lowers inflammation. 60% of your brain is made up of fat. So think about that for a second. If you don't have enough fat in your brain, how well do you think your brain's gonna work? Fat's gone down, dementia, Alzheimer's has just gone up, right? Are they directly related? No, but are they closely related? I bet you so, all right? Every single one of your hormones in your body starts with some building blocks with fatty acids, okay? So again, look at, especially for women, fat's gone down. What's gone up? Horrific menopausal symptoms, hormone-based
Wow, so
cancers,
it's good
right?
for a woman to have some,
Fat.
a certain amount of fat.
Oh, yeah.
It's supposed to be healthy.
Absolutely, yeah, and men too for hormones. So
And what percentage of the?
60% of your brain is made up of fat, cholesterol specifically.
Oh.
Yep. So here's another myth, all right? And I always like to slam this because there's this, well, one is a documentary that kind of went around, and then there's been all this falsified information that has gone around that the only way to be healthy now is to not only eat organic, yada, 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 but also you gotta cut out all meat. You gotta be a vegetarian. Okay, you heard this before? Yeah, it's like
It's the argument of the China study.
Exactly.
The China study thing.
The problem with this though is that in the China study, in China is where all the toxic, horrible pork and meat that we consume here in America comes from. So I don't think they were consuming grass-fed beef grown in the heartland of Texas, right? And then that was getting shipped back to China, and then those Chinese people were eating it.
Right.
So you can make statistics look like anything that you want them to look like, okay? Based on how you chip, snip, and snap the data, right? So,
That's what socialists do.
so again, there's probably ulterior motives with this, but all the studies that I've seen that have been done on 100% grass-fed beef, okay, right, have been shown to be vastly superior nutrition and been better for you. So, do I believe if you eat crap meat that your chance of getting heart disease and all these things will go up? Yeah, I would agree with that. If you're eating Chinese meat, okay, right, then that would, absolutely. But again, not just because you can't make blanket statements like that in health. So this should say 100%. Now, should you be mostly plant-based? Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I eat a little bit of meat every single day, but it's not like I'm eating like a massive freaking steak or like a whole half-pound burger or something every single day. So I'm primarily plant-based, but there's absolutely a place for meat in your diet. There's certain amino acids that you need to live and to function that can only be found in meats, or at least in the quantity that they are. And I'll tell you what, people that I've met that are vegetarian and vegan, when I do nutritional testing on them, they're train wrecks on the inside. They might think they're healthy, but their stats don't lie, and they're deficient in many vitamins and minerals. A lot of times it's B12, iron, zinc, and other ones like that. Train wrecks. So don't get caught up in the hype, all right, with that. So now, going back to where is meat a problem, we'll just blanketly call this conventional meat, okay? So toxic bioaccumulations, think about this. So they have to eat 10 to 1, a cow has to eat 10, so when they eat 10 pounds, they have to eat 10 pounds of grass. Think about the last time you mowed your lawn, like 10 pounds of grass clippings, right? In order for them to grow 1 pound of beef on their body. So remember, it's the same thing with grains. So they're eating 10 pounds of grains to make 1 pound of fat. Think about that. Think about how much glyphosate, Roundup, and pesticides, herbicides, and all that's sprayed on there. So it's bioaccumulation. So you go up higher the food chain, it just accumulates like crazy. So you're getting even more of that in your meat based on what they ate. So they accumulate 10 times greater toxins. So carnivores will get 10 times greater toxins than even herbivores, okay, from that too, because they eat all those than herbivores, right? Carnivores do. So the best way to get more fats and better omegas is not just fish oils, but it's changing the meat that you eat. So there's a vastly superior ratio of omega-3 inside of grass-fed beef, because again, if a cow eats what the cow is supposed to eat, and you ate what a cow ate that was supposed to eat, well then you're eating what you're supposed to eat. Does that make sense? Okay? So you're not just what you eat, you are what you eat what they ate. Okay? You are what you ate. And that's another way of saying it, okay? Very important to consider that, and that's where it comes down to, again, the cheapness or the quality, right? I can tell you that knowing many people that farm and raise livestock the right way, they don't make more money. In fact, they make way less than these conventional farmers, because in order to raise a cow that only eats grass and never cheat and fatten them up like crazy with grains, it has to be alive a lot, so their turnover is a lot slower, and they get less, physically get less meat off of them, right? So their investment is, they're putting more into it, if you will.
Dr. Bone, obviously we're talking about beef in this situation here. It's gonna be kind of a strange question, but what about someone who raises naturally emu or ostrich or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, the same thing, so whatever, I don't know what their natural diet is, I would assume it's the same or similar, right? Maybe they eat a few more bugs, they might be a little bit more like a chicken, okay, in that sense. I don't know what field, are they mammals or, I don't know that, but.
But we apply the same thing.
The principle is they should be eating their natural diet, right, is what it is. So, chickens don't walk around looking for soy to eat, okay, right? Or or a wild chicken would be eating bugs and little things like that, okay? So just understand it too, that organic chicken is even way more expensive than organic grass-fed beef, because it takes even that much more to get a chicken that's ready, to eat that. The life cycle's rough. So better fed meat, better it is for us. So I have always subscribed to the fact that if you were going to make one change and one change only in terms of your nutrition, let's just call it a budgetary change, you would invest the extra capital into the meats you're eating versus like organic fruits and vegetables, okay? So you're like, I got an extra X amount of dollars in my budget per week, per month to improve my nutrition, more bang for your buck by changing your meats. Okay, does that make sense? All right, that's how I would triage it, if you will, is always investing and making sure you're getting here, because you're gonna get way more damage in the opposite way by consuming meat not made this way. So, there. This was a nutritional analysis that was done, I believe, out of Harvard, and looking at nutritional quantities on a biochemical level or at the food scientist level. There was almost as much vitamin and mineral content in a quarter pound of 100% grass-fed beef as there was in 5 pounds of fruit.
There was what? Say it again.
There was almost as much vitamin and mineral content in a quarter pounder of 100% grass-fed beef as in you'd have to eat 5 pounds of fruit to get the same amount of nutritional value from that. Not to mention, look at 4 carbs versus 200. I mean, calories matter somewhat, 150 versus 8, so I mean, you're getting way more excess baggage with that. So remember, fruits are your desserts, okay? Fruits are your treat. They're not a staple. And this is why another reason why the meat is more valuable, but for a whole family, right, to invest in, even than just trying to shove 17 bananas down your kids' throats, the same amount. So change these first. 100%, you should say 100%. If it doesn't say 100%, it's not, okay? 100% grass-fed beef, free-range chicken, or free-run, wild-caught fish, as opposed to anything that doesn't say wild, although it wasn't wild, okay? And then naturally sourced dairy. So, how do you know if a chicken is free range or not? Well, you should be able to go to the farm and see the chickens running around, okay? Like, there's no trick to this. So, I definitely shop at Whole Foods a lot, but the majority, actually almost all the animal products that I buy, I can visit my farm and see the animal that I'm gonna eat next week, okay? Which is kind of weird, but not really if you think about it, okay? It's only weird because of the world we live in today. Like, you should meet your meat, right? Nice to meet you. Thanks for, Bessie, you're gonna be serving me next week, or my family, right? Meet your meat. You should be able to meet your meat. If you can't meet your meat, then it's always gonna be in question. You know what I'm saying, right? Because they can put anything they pretty much want on labels for the most part. So, along with some basics here tonight, because this is supposed to be nutrition basics, 101, I am gonna go over some supplements that not that everything I go over here, everybody needs to be taking these things here, but I'm gonna go over some baseline stuff that I believe the majority of everybody that I come across would need a compilation of some of these, okay? Now, one way to be getting high quality protein easily and efficiently is consuming whey protein, all right? Which whey comes from, obviously, dairy and cows, right? So this is the specialized protein part of the milk. And the key in choosing whey protein, and this is the reason why we have ours set a certain way, but the key in choosing whey protein is that it needs to be non-denatured, so not massively heated, because that fries the nutritional value off of it. It needs to come from grass-fed cows, right? Because it goes back to the fact that all that stuff is going to be in the whey, okay? So if they're eating what they're supposed to eat, then that whey is going to be a higher quality. And then the other big thing with this is not fillers and also not sugar. So most whey proteins have either artificial sweeteners or even sugar in them. Again, you go to GNC, Costco, you'll see these massive tubs, right, of like whey protein for like 20 bucks. Well, there's a reason why you can buy this like year's supply for $30, and then ours is like a month's supply for like double that. Okay, it's because of the quality. Again, think about a farmer needing to get the return on investment. They put more into it in order to get that from there. So the great thing about whey protein is that it helps with blood sugar. There's been a lot of studies that helps diabetics lower their blood sugar. It helps you produce glutathione, which is a natural detoxifier, which literally liquefies toxins in your body. It helps inflammation, even boost your immune system a little bit. So we got chocolate and vanilla from that. And I'm not going to talk about it for those of you that are like vegetarian, I guess. If you're still going to be vegetarian after tonight, then you gotta do a plant-based protein. Or if you just want to switch it up a little bit, okay, from that. Now, I mentioned drinking my greens too, so this is what I would call kind of a next level. This might be a nutrition 201 type strategy here. Because if you're not eating salads and greens and vegetables in the first place, then I'm not letting you buy this stuff right here, because you need to get the baselines going with that. This is to kind of supplement, right? That's why that word is used specifically, an already healthy diet. So in one scoop of this stuff right here, there's around 9 to 12 servings of organic vegetables, grasses, weeds, things that you wouldn't normally probably eat, but they have a lot of nutrient density in there. It has
Grasses and weeds?
yeah, like wheatgrass, right?
Oh.
You've heard of that? It's very healthy or cool if you drink wheatgrass, so it's got powderized there. There's minimal sugar in there. It's got stevia. It's got real chocolate powder, so it tastes pretty good. And then it's got digestive enzymes in there too. So I recommend you actually drink some of that before you eat your meal, because it actually helps kind of prime your stomach for the pump. So sometimes I'll just put like a little, just like not even a full scoop, just like a little bit in my water while I'm drinking it with my meal, and it helps just digest and break down food a little bit easier.
Why do you
And
say
there's also
that's,
probiotics in there.
that you wouldn't recommend that if you're not eating?
Well, I'm just saying, like, this is not a cheat, right? So this is not like, oh, if I use a really extreme example, you're gonna do this and then like eat McDonald's every day,
okay,
right?
okay.
So the point is to have the baseline down
Yeah,
first. You're
okay.
eating vegetables on a regular basis,
Okay.
salads, stuff like that. This is a great addition to that, to take it to the next level, okay? The problem I see sometimes people, their eyes start like getting giddy. They're like, ooh, I can just put this with my, my pizza, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's not a cheat. That won't do anything, okay, for that. So here's my smoothie recipe. I have a bunch, but this is one of my top 2 go-tos. So frozen berries, organic berries, Costco, cheapest place to buy them in town. Put some raw almond butter in there to make it a little thicker and nuttier. That's optional, it's not necessary, but I like that. I do a scoop of the grass-fed protein. I do 1 scoop for my whole family, all right? So because you don't need a whole lot of it. Then I water it down, so to speak, with some unsweetened almond milk, because otherwise it's sweetened, okay? Which is getting sugar, it's not gonna help. And then I'll alternate between putting just a handful of spinach in there or just a scoop of the max greens. That's how I start my day. So think about it, you got quality protein, and you got, in my case, like 10 to 12 servings of vegetables before I even walk out of my house. How much more productive, energetic do you think I'm gonna feel throughout the day, right? This is the secret to living a healthy life and having a great one is
So one
start
of
your
those
day
for
right.
breakfast every day?
Yeah.
How long does that last you? Do you eat a snack in between, or does that last you all the way to lunch?
It doesn't matter.
And one of the ways that can help that is put coconut milk in there. Some coconut milk in there, right? From the can. So more fat, or an avocado. If you get hungry too quickly, you put a little more fat in
So
there.
not the coconut milk in the milk?
Yeah, it's just watered down, and there's a lot of fillers in there. So I just put the coconut milk from a can. You don't even need a full can; it's just a little bit to fill it up.
Yeah, that's what Deb, that's
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
Deb
yeah,
talks.
All right, switching into toxins. So another myth: FDA and USDA effectively protect the general public from dangerous products. False. Okay. So we got GMOs running rampant like crazy. Again, we're beginning to see the tip of the iceberg, and that leading to major disease problems. When you manipulate the DNA of something that God made, it's going to screw up our DNA, and we have zero concept for what that's doing to us. Massively sprayed in pesticides, additives, antibiotics. Okay, the number one source of antibiotic production or usage is in our meats. Okay, 80% of all the antibiotics produced are for animals and livestock. And if you think about that, I don't want to go into too many tangents here, okay? But like, the reason why you need a pump full of antibiotics is that when their animals are raised unnaturally, they get sick and they die easier. So all they do is they just literally pump full of antibiotics till they can kill them, okay? So, horrible. All right, here is from a toxicity standpoint, not everything needs to be organic. There's something called the Clean 15 by the Environmental Working Group, Dirty Dozen. Again, this is in your book, but you can take a picture of it now, that's fine.
Wow, this is great.
So everything you see on this list right here, and they actually have expanded a little bit, these are the top pesticide, herbicide, whatever yada yada sprayed foods in our food supply.
Huh.
These ones are minimally or nothing, all right? So here's a couple interesting ones, right? Apple's number 1. Berries number 4. Spinach is on there. Cucumbers, right? Kale and collard greens. So those would be things, again, if you want to go, you got your meats down, all right, we're comfortable with that. Next step, we're going to look into our budget is buying things that are on the Dirty Dozen, or in this case, the Dirty 14, right? Organic. Whereas on this list, not so much of a stressor.
No,
You
what
can see
about-
avocados here, they don't need to be organic. So don't spend the extra buck on them, all right? Just get the conventional.
What about broccoli?
Yeah, if it doesn't fall on this list, either of these lists right there, it's somewhere in between, and so that's a judgment call at that point for you, is like, do you want to spend it or not?
Okay.
Or, you know what I mean, like risk reward, I guess, thing, if you will, from that. So this is our detox system. It's a 2-part system. So everybody, detox has kind of become a buzzword for, and for good reason, because we live in an ever increasingly toxic society. So, but detox is not as easy as taking a product off the shelf and like going to the bathroom 20 times over a weekend, okay? Is that maybe a time and a place to do that? Sure, but that doesn't mean you're gonna detoxify anything other than what was in your colon, all right? The only way you truly detoxify your body is if we go back to the cellular level and realize that that is gonna be the primary place where destructive toxins are gonna be. So this system, all right, again, it's a 2-part system, and that's why it's called cell detox, is designed to boost your body's intracellular, so that means inside the cell, glutathione, which then helps to dump toxins out of your cells. Now you can't just dump toxins out, because if they don't get removed out of there, they're gonna get reabsorbed back in the bloodstream, because they all get dumped in your gut, and if it doesn't get out quick enough, it's gonna get reabsorbed back into your gut. So this body detox here, which is things like activated charcoal, magnesium, and a few other things, they're known as binders. And so what they're gonna do is they can think of like a catcher's mitt. So you do that, it sort of sits in your gut, so when those toxins land in your gut, those things, especially activated charcoal, are gonna bind to it, and then it's gonna make sure you excrete it out safely and not get reabsorbed back into your body. So most detoxification products on the market, or claim that they detox, have a high rate of we call retoxing. So you might detox it out, but if you don't get it all the way out, it's gonna retox it back inside of your body. Okay, so again, I would call this more of a next level thing, because if you still have a high amount of toxins in your food, you're just gonna detox and retox that way anyway. So that's kind of not where I would be investing my time and energy into until you sort of got things lined up. Does that make sense? Okay. But it's like, okay, you get that stabilized. Now you can start digging into the damage you've been doing to your body for the last 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, maybe. All right, in some ways. So, this is
So how long
cool for me.
does that take to?
I recommend, so I recommend a 90-day burst of this. Good question. To really get deep. Okay? And I think it's good to do once a year. A 90-day, once a quarter, one quarter a year of that. Yep. I was gonna say, so I just turned 34 a couple of weeks ago. And at 30, sometime between 33 and 34, I now crossed over a point where I have now been getting adjusted as long as I went through my life before that I wasn't getting adjusted. That was kind of cool for me. And I feel like I'm still getting better. I'm not quite there with food yet. I'm gonna be like 44, 45 when I will have been eating, 46 maybe, eating healthy as long as I have not been eating healthy, okay? So why do I say that? Because you can't expect, you change things for a little bit, I got my nutrition good, I'm good, that all of a sudden 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of damage you've been, in most cases, probably unknowingly doing to your body will all of a sudden be magically fixed and like you're healthy and you're good to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't believe it takes as long because you can get a new body within a year. That's what studies have shown. Every single cell in your body is replaced within a year. And so you can have a potential to replace it with a good cell versus a kind of a sick or malfunction cell. But you just got to give yourself a little bit of grace, patience, and realize you ate yourself into your situation. So the good thing is you can eat your way out of that situation, of course, by changing what you're eating. So to answer your question, fruit, blah, 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 whatever it is, here is how you're going to differentiate what you should be eating and what plan you should be on. We have two of them. One's called the core plan, one's called the advanced plan. So I want to go to the advanced plan because this will most of you actually really should be doing this, all right? If you have weight loss resistance or a lot of weight that you want to lose, you need the advanced plan. If you have high amounts of inflammation or you currently have a diagnosis or some type of disease that you'd rather not have, you should be doing the advanced plan. If you want to lose weight quickly, you should be doing the advanced plan. If you want to see your health completely restored, advanced plan. If you have blood sugar irregularities, everybody, advanced plan, thank you, right? Digestive issues, advanced plan. Autoimmunity, or you get sick more frequently, advanced plan. Or if you or your children have ADD, sleep problems, autism, ADHD, right? Advanced plan. So if you don't have any of those things, maybe I better be careful because I don't want to throw it. It's not that complete of a list. But how do I choose the core plan? Well, if your family in general is really healthy, then you do the core plan. You're just trying to maintain or get a little bit better. Maintain health. You want to prevent disease, and you're okay with losing just like a little bit of weight, all right, or kind of at a slower rate. That's when you would do the core plan. So in the core plan, it does allow, although, and I'm just saying, I'm telling you my preference versus what it says in there, is that they say you can have a kind of a tiny amount of organic sprouted grains, like you mentioned. You can have more fruit and things like that. For me, even if I'm doing the core plan, I really still don't eat grains. I have more fruit when I'm on that kind of phase there. I'm on the advanced plan right now. I'm doing the advanced plan personally. Like, why? Because I hadn't done it in a while, and I found myself slipping a little bit, and like, not that, probably most of you would be like, that was your version of slipping, and you'd be like, what the heck, right? But I'd rather just go aggressive and get it back where it needs to be, because who knows, I don't want 2 months of slipping for me mean cancer 20 years from now. Okay, and that's just me personally, that's how I think. So, again, probably every single one of you should do the advanced plan. How long, and then the next question is, how long do you do the advanced plan for? Great question. Until these things are gone, right? When you're where you want to be, okay? So I can't answer that question for you. Everybody has a different amount of time frame as what they will need to change that. I can tell you that from a person that drank 6 to 12 Mountain Dews a day and had never vegetables and processed foods for a huge portion of my life, it took me a year on the advanced plan to get my health back to where I wanted to be. I didn't eat sugar for a year. I didn't eat grains for a year. I ate very little fruit for an entire year. The cool part was not only did I get healthier, but my vision corrected. I went from wearing glasses and having a restriction on my license to it corrected, which is kind of cool. So
Huh, how old were you?
I was 24,
When your vision got correct?
Yep.
You used to have glasses? Wow,
or contacts. I wore contacts.
that's
yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Me too.
So just to show that, you know, it can really, I mean, I didn't do anything else. I mean, I was getting adjusted too, but I was also getting adjusted before that. So it can really heal a lot of things. So here are the 4 basic changes on the advanced plan, just to make it very clear. Eliminating grains, sugars, and fruit, except berries, grapefruit, and Granny Smith apples. Okay?
And organic Granny Smith.
Very good, yep. Those would all be organic, yep, because they're on the Dirty Dozen. And this doesn't mean you eat berries like the cows are coming home, all right? Like it's like sprinkled amounts for like enjoyment, dessert, okay? Maybe a snack here and there. Protein, you're gonna replace the conventional with that natural, like we talked about. Your fats, you're gonna remove as many bad fats, ideally all of them, and replace them with the good ones. And then toxins, you just gotta dump. So it's everything we talked about, everything I just talked about, that's how you do the advanced plan.
Now, is that,
That sounds really hard, Dr. Barnes. No, it's only hard if you think it is. What were you gonna say?
oh,
Yeah.
well, when you say dump the toxins, what?
Trash the toxins, just get them out of its source, get them out of the intake source in your body. Stop eating processed, all these things would essentially lead to having less toxins anyway. I'm just put that on there again just to connect the dots from the beginning. So vitamin D3, arguably one of the top 3 probably most important vitamins out there. A lot of you have seen me show this chart before. It's worth seeing again and worth hearing again, okay?
This is vitamin D.
Vitamin D3, yep. So this is a conglomeration by the Vitamin D Council, and they looked at 300 epidemiological studies, might be 500, which means they look at huge portions of the population, like thousands of people, collecting data on them and disease, right? And what they do is they publish this graph, and what you see across the top here is the blood level of vitamin D, okay? So this would be a lower level of vitamin D in your blood, this would be a higher level up here. And then down here you see disease, so.
Vitamin D3?
D3, yep.
Is there a difference between D3
There
and
is,
other
yep,
Ds?
yep. Vitamin D3 is the most active one in your body.
Okay.
So cancer, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, colon cancer, lymphoma, diabetes, type 1, fractures, falls, multiple sclerosis, kidney cancer, endometrial cancer, rickets. Now here's the biggest things about all this. When a person on average had a blood level of vitamin D 40 or higher, their chance of developing any kind of cancer was 35% less. Do you know what that means? If every single American had at least 40 or higher levels of vitamin D, over 200,000 less Americans would die of cancer per year. Holy mother, right? Like that is insane, okay? The problem is that the actual medical system just bumped the levels up a little bit to 30. Your doctor or your blood test will say your vitamin D is fine if you're anywhere in the 30s. And therefore it means, I'm not gonna change anything, or my vitamin D is good. But here's why it's even bigger. If your number is up in the mid-50s, cancer goes down by 75%. So now we're talking 450,000 people would not die per year from cancer. Right? Stupid. And like vitamin D costs a few pennies a day to get the right amount, literally. Like a few
Vitamin
pennies.
D3.
Vitamin D3, a few pennies a day. Breast cancer?
But not all vitamin D3 in the, you just get it by eating right.
No, no. You have to eat like
Right.
so much salmon and so much fish. It's very impossible, almost impossible to get a vitamin D just through nutrition. Unfortunately nowadays, and with the
What about the sun? Can you get it from the
A
sun?
little bit, not much. Yeah. Because you're not outside very much, and when you're outside, you're wearing clothes or you're wearing sunscreen, so you don't produce any vitamin D if you got clothes on or sunscreen on, because it blocks it. I want to move on here. So breast cancer. Breast Cancer Awareness Month, right? Well, how about we focus on Breast Health Month? And so with that being making sure every single woman had a level, 65 or higher, because if they did, 67% less women would die of breast cancer or get it in the first place. how about instead of raising money to try to find a cure for cancer, which I'm not against, although I don't think that'll ever happen. How about we just we put even a little bit of that money to make sure every single person, women, just let's do one group, right, have proper vitamin D.
Huh.
That's how you save the tatas right there, okay? It's not by running around a track raising money for pharmaceutical companies. It's like doing the common sense things that God made inside of our body, okay?
Amen.
Hope I didn't offend anybody, but you get where I'm coming from, right? Like, I'm not against those things in general, but like, if they're missing the mark, right?
Yeah.
And if you're putting billions of dollars into the wrong thing, well then you're just putting billions of dollars into the wrong thing. So, bottom line is, get proper levels of vitamin D, get it tested. I recommend twice a year. And I recommend after winter and after summer, okay? Because you're most likely to, if you were to go too high, which is, I've only ever seen, actually I'm only ever tested I've ever seen too high because I didn't follow my own advice. And I was taking like 20,000 vitamin D per day for like 2 years. So I got way too high. So I forgot to test myself. And then you do post-winter because you're most likely to go down in the wintertime, right? Because you're definitely not outside as much and you get it. So you just can, the point is like ultimately one level of vitamin D supplementation is probably not going to be the same for you throughout the whole year. It probably needs to be adjusted up and down a little bit for optimal health. So yeah.
So in order to get enough vitamin D from the sun, you could not have clothes on.
You need to have 90% exposure of your skin.
You have to have 90% exposure of your skin.
So you're talking like a little bikini or like a little thing, right?
For how long?
At least 20 minutes a day.
Okay.
In peak sun between 11 and 1. So if you can do that, then you probably will have okay vitamin levels of vitamin D. And hey, while we're on this, right? Any ethnicity, right, of darker complexion, traditionally way lower in vitamin D. So there are more risk for that because you have a lot of pigment that block a lot of that absorption of the sun's rays. So I see, Hispanic, black, right, way worse on these. I mean, I've seen like single-digit numbers, which is like insane, right? Like that should be illegal to walk
So
around.
the black person or the dark-skinned person has to get, what, 40 minutes?
Or just need more supplement, yeah, too. So yeah, I mean, I take a supplement. I mean, I get sun a little bit every single day, or at least try to. But the only way I found to consistently get the numbers where they're supposed to be is through supplementation. Okay?
What about vitamin K with vitamin D?
That's how you get it in your bones. Okay?
Right.
Right. But we're talking about blood level here.
Right, but I heard that if you're not having enough vitamin K, and I understand you eating a lot of greens, then the vitamin D goes calcify your.
Not from a whole food source, it doesn't. But you want to have a high blood level.
Right, but what about if you supplement, it goes into your veins?
Yeah, so I know exactly what you're talking about, but that's for a different reason to take vitamin D. It's for bone health. We're talking about everything else related to that. We're talking about having bioavailable vitamin D in your blood to modulate hormones, modulate your immune system, okay? So you're talking about the same thing to me, but it's a different purpose for what we're looking for. So not the only way to absorb vitamin D is not by taking vitamin K. You can have vitamin D by itself.
So to answer her question in regards to bone health, which is the issue for some of us, what would be?
Yeah, so the number one way to have good bone health is to eat vegetables. That's how you get calcium and all that kind of stuff. Because think about it, ideally, right, if you drink milk, okay, and there's high calcium in there, well, the way to have a higher calcium is cows should be eating grass. Like that's where you get better vitamins and minerals from. So, but this is why you take vitamin D with meals, because you should be having other vitamins and minerals that go along with it for optimal absorption. Yeah. So here's the one that we do right here. So vitamin D, this one is a 5,000 IU unit one. Okay, so it's a good baseline starting point. There's also 10 million, CFUs. It should be 10 million CFUs of 4 different types of bacterial strains because optimal delivery system of vitamin D requires probiotics in there too. And then there's also these inulin and phosphor, which is a prebiotic. Okay, so it's good for your gut at the same time there. We also have a liquid one, which is I recommend them more for families, for like little kids, because little kids really can't swallow capsules all that well, or they shouldn't be. So this way it's a little dropper, and just like my little kids go around like little birds and stuff. Put it in their mouth. And it's also a lot more cost effective to take high doses of it. I've had some people take over 100,000 a day, which would almost be a whole bottle of this right here, to get their numbers up to the proper amount. So if you're like at a really low number, we want to get you within a month up to a solid number. The only way to do that is to take like 10,000, 20,000 or more IUs per day to get it that blood level up there. I'm
It's
gonna
not
move.
impossible though.
What's that?
I said I'm a testimony to it, it's not
It's
impossible.
not impossible, nope. Which is why testing is important, because what you can't measure, you can't manage. All right, leaky gut, all right? This is something that has become more socially aware this is basically gut damage in general. This has become more socially aware in the last, I'd say, 3 to 5 years especially. In the medical literature, it's called intestinal hyperpermeability, all right? So you do look for research on leaky gut. Well, that's just what we call it because that's really what it is. But in the medical research, they call it intestinal hyperpermeability, which there's a lot of data on that. Now, what causes that? Bacterial overgrowth of pathogenic bacteria. Grains cause damage to the gut lining because they're highly inflammatory. Processed foods, alcohol, sugar. Eating quickly, so meaning eating while you're stressed. You produce more cortisol. Excess cortisol causes gut damage. Antibiotic use, that's probably number one. And along with that, pain medications like aspirin and Tylenol, so NSAIDs cause actually microscopic holes in the gut lining. Parasites and viruses toxins, getting antibiotics through your food, not just taking an antibiotic. And then also damage inside of your spine, specifically the nerves going to the digestive organs, also cause your organs to malfunction and break down. So that is not the complete list, but that is definitely the top ones right there. Now, why is this so important with something like antibiotics, which you've all had in your entire life, and some of you probably have way more than others, myself included back in the day. They have found that it takes at least 1 year for the microbiome, meaning the bacteria in your digestive tract, to be rebalanced after 1 round of an antibiotic. Wow. Just one. Whole year of recovery for 10 days of taking your purple liquid or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Most of us are screwed is what that basically means, okay?
if you take it longer than that, it takes a lot longer to clear it?
Yeah, or think about most people that have 1 a year probably have more than one. You know what I mean? Typically people that get antibiotics have them yearly. You know what I mean? So it becomes like a chronic usage of those things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like little kids, I met kids, they've had 10 rounds of antibiotics in their first 2 years of life. 10 for ear infections, right? Just destroying them from the beginning. How could they ever grow up to be a healthy adult if they've been racked and rocked from the beginning?
Yeah.
Now, what we're finding with this intestinal hyperpermeability, or AKA leaky gut, all right, is that it's beginning to cause autoimmune problems and other things. So there's a book called Grain Brain. All right, anybody heard of that one before? They've seen the shelves before. Part of that linkage there is that the grains cause leaky gut, which then cause cognitive decline, depression, anxiety, ADHD.
Could a kid have
skin
leaky
issues?
gut?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've seen it all the time.
Is there any way to see it in your kids?
There's testing with like blood markers that show it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Skin issues. Anytime a person has a skin issue, it's almost always gut. Eczema, ectopic dermatitis, psoriasis, acne. Okay.
Now wait,
It's a
you
gut
mean it's
issue.
not normal for kids to get acne?
No, not at all.
What? It's not normal for teenagers going
Why would it be?
Well, the hormones and all that.
Nothing to do with hormones. That's what the law
Four
is.
different types of
Yeah.
So my kids all have acne.
So then you gotta work on their gut. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Thyroid issues, colon, digestive issues, all right? I know I'm going fast, we're gonna be here till midnight if I don't keep cranking through this. And it is being filmed, okay, so you can go back and watch it. Or ask me later. Adrenal fatigue, joint issues, okay, because of the inflammation that leads to. Sinus issues, that's also an inflammatory problem. This is like 80% of America suffers with one or more or 50 of those things on there. Now this is a kind of a depiction of sort of what a digestive tract looks like on a cellular level. These are the cells, okay? Those are the gap junctions in between, so this is where what actually will get separated out when you get leaky gut, so those split apart and then toxins and other particles can leak back and forth through there. There's also a mucosal lining, all right? Like think of like slippery, that helps to kind of protect it from inflammation, that helps food slide along through there and not get stuck and trapped. That is important. So what happens is that the first thing that happens when you get leaky gut is your mucosal lining begins to disintegrate or break down, all right? So then these are less protected, so then they're exposed to the inflammation and they start getting damaged. Okay, that's the basic progression of it. So one of the top ways we found, well not we found, that scientists have found is that the best way to build that mucosal lining is L-glutamine, which is an amino acid. It's very healing and very soothing for muscle tissue in general, which think about your digestive tract is a very specialized smooth muscle, right? Because it's got to squeeze your food all the way through all the time. So L-glutamine does that. Now, the other cool part, so L-glutamine became popular in like the 70s and the 80s with bodybuilders because they found they can recover from workouts a lot faster. It's like for lifting. Also, it helps people burn fat, so it actually boosts your metabolism. It's vital for the immune system. It does cell detox. It balances your pH and it even improves your brain health. So this is a very high-powered, high, like effective cost, if you will, regimen. So I take this almost every single day. I put a little scoop of that in my smoothie, right? Just in there. Okay, just throw it right in there.
Can you mix it in with like a latte or something?
Well, if there's a no sugar, organic raw milk, dairy. To answer your question. Or even in water, right?
Thinking Starbucks could throw that in, you know? No.
Yeah. With their GMO milk, right? Candida is a yeast, all right? And how do you know if you have Candida? Everybody raise your hand for me. If your hand is raised, you have Candida, all right? To some degree, okay, this is a result of eating the wrong things and having even a small portion of your life eating the wrong things. Caused by a high sugar diet, high junk food, and an excessive alcohol, all right? And in some cases, for some people, not as many, but some, high caffeine diet too can also do it. So it's super inflammatory. This is actually what it looks like on a microscopic level. It's kind of gross. That's a tube, that's a digestive tract right there. Look at all those little white, that's a yeast in your digestive tract.
Maybe this is what's causing me to feel so.
And so antibiotics, major cause of that, okay, because it wipes out your bacteria. Yeast grow faster, so they take over, all right? You evict everything else and they take over really quickly. So here are the warning signs of Candida problems. Ongoing energy slumps, mood imbalances, UTIs and bladder issues, oral fungus, so like, stuff inside your mouth, sinus issues, intestinal discomfort, brain fog, skin and nail fungus issues, right? And then hormonal imbalances. Now, can other things cause these things? Yes, but like if you're like, I got 5 of those, you probably have a Candida problem, or a bad one, okay? Because you all have a Candida problem. So, how do I heal Candida? That's the next logical question. Well, you do the exact opposite of all this, right? So you gotta get the sugar and the carbs out. So again, just like cancer cells, if you starve it, they die. If you starve the yeast, which they ferment sugar, and that's what they get their energy source from, so you start cutting that down, your Candida will slowly die off. And I'll tell you what, one of the main reasons why a lot of times people can feel lousy for a few days after going on like a no or low sugar diet is that Candida starts dying off, and it literally starts releasing like a little bit of biotoxins into your system, and you feel like garbage, like kind of like the flu almost, a little bit like flu-ish or like achy and tired. It's because it's part of the biotoxins that those dying sons of guns are given off of with that, okay? So, but you can either fix it or this could be the alternative. Now there are a few supplements that I like on the market that help kill Candida a little bit faster. The one that we carry in our office, this is not a baseline one. This is one because there's a little bit of extra focus on digestive health of this one. Was the one that's made by Josh Axe, Dr. Axe. So he put together this formula. And the main things in there is a root called Pata arco. Oregano also is shown into it. Astragalus, lysozyme, cellulase, and hemicellulase are all known candida killers. So they destroy yeast. They're yeast killers.
So if
all
you
right?
have the leaky gut,
Yeah, this would be good for it for sure. Yeah. Because usually if you have leaky gut, you also have candida or vice versa.
and then
yeah.
the other thing would be the other supplement, the
Glutamine, yeah. Now, another digestive condition very prevalent in our society is what's called SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, all right? What does that mean, all right? In a normal digestive tract, you have your duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. This makes up your small intestine, DJI, right? It's your small intestine. Then you hit your large intestine and your colon, all right? Now, what's supposed to happen is you have a very specific type of bacteria in your colon that sort of do the last steps of fermentation, okay? So what's fermentation? Well, bloating, gas, burping, belching, okay? Tooting, as we call it in our household, right? Okay. We toot it, right? So normally, again, like these easily digestible foods here are going to break down very easily by the time it even hits the large intestine. Things that are harder to digest starches are going to break down a little bit slower. So remember the thing, beans, vegetable fruit, the more you eat, the more you toot, right? The reason being is that they're harder to break down, so more of them will hit that colon, where then they're going to get fermented, and then you're going to produce gas, okay? Does that make sense?
okay, so anything that
Beans are
breaks
not
down-
magical. In fact, they're the opposite, and that's why the more you eat, the more they make you toot, all right?
Yeah, yes.
Now, what happens is that in this small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, what begins to happen for a lot of people is that bacteria begins to overgrow, and so therefore begins to transverse higher up even into the small intestine.
Wow.
All right?
Okay.
So now what's happening is you're even eating easily digestible things, and it's causing you pretty quickly after you eat to bloat, right? To belch, to have gas, all those things like that, okay? That happens to you pretty quickly after eating, like bloating, all that kind of stuff. Again, you can do tests to confirm this, but it'd be very weird if you didn't have SIBO and you had those symptoms, okay? Small intestinal
All
bacterial
right, so when you're healthy, the major fermentation gas is down at the bottom.
only at the very end.
But as
Yep.
it starts to get, as you start to get unhealthier.
You hit it sooner.
Yeah.
So you
it
get
goes all-
way, so instead of it being mostly or almost all the way broken down by the time it hits that, it's only partially. So you got a ton of time in your track of getting broken down and being fermented.
Huh.
Yeah.
Is that heartburn?
No, different. Yeah, but most of the time you have them both if you have one or the other. Or sorry, if you have heartburn, you likely have SIBO too, but it is a separate thing because you can have one and not the other. Okay. Heartburn's a whole other beast, which you can ask me afterwards. I can give you some specific stuff for that. It's just one or two things it can be. So if you have that issue, Max GI is what you want, all right? This is the stuff that I've been taking this for a long time, and I had major SIBO because I fed it like crazy for many years of my life, okay? So, I mean, you wanna know what causes SIBO? I'll tell you, Mountain Dew causes SIBO, okay? And Yoplait yogurt, which I had like 2 or 3 of those every morning for breakfast, okay? That stuff, you wanna know how to get SIBO, that I'm living proof of that. So, Max GI, this is great. So, I also will consume this if I traveled to Atlanta, and I try to stick as closely as I could to my meals. But I had a few that were off track. I'll consume this now just after I eat something bad, and I don't get as from eating bad.
So you don't take it daily, you just,
I used to. I don't anymore now because I don't have that issue.
because we have some.
Yeah.
that-
I don't have that issue anymore after I just eat normal stuff or even abnormal stuff, unless it's really off my reservation there, if you will. But so now I just take this sort of as like a fixer, quick fixer. Yep. But if you eat like a salad and you get bloated from a salad, yeah. As an example, like if you're eating healthy and you're having that issue.
But you shouldn't be getting bloated from a salad.
Oh no.
If you get bloated from a salad, it's because
You got SIBO.
You got SIBO.
Yeah. Fill in the gaps, plug the holes. That's what a multivitamin should be, all right? Again, a multivitamin should not be on top of Chick-fil-A. All right, I think you're gonna be okay. I like to call this like an extra insurance policy, just to make sure, if you're one of those people you want to just make sure you're getting kind of filling all those little cracks in there. I believe if you're eating well, you don't need one, in my opinion, right? But if you're like not, if you're, again, that's why we're calling kind of bridging the gap. If you're still got a little bit of a gap from where you are and where you know you should be, it's a smart gap filler.
Are you saying that multivitamins, if you don't eat healthy, you don't, you cannot use a multivitamin to get what you need? Oh.
Especially if you're eating all those anti-nutrients, you take a multivitamin, it won't even absorb anyways.
Huh.
Yeah. It's an insurance policy, it's not a magic bullet, all right?
Okay, so if you're eating healthy, you actually, it's a waste to take a multivitamin because you don't need it.
I would say if you're eating really good, yeah. I don't take one, I don't take multi. Yeah. All right, real quick on omegas, fish oils, okay? So, common supplement that people take, and I think you either need to take the right one. I'm not saying mine's the only right one, but you either need to take the right one or don't take it at all. Because cheap fish oil is very likely full of mercury, highly processed, and highly inflammatory, okay? Again, there's a reason why you can buy a 2-pound tub at Costco for like $10 or whatever it is, and like other ones are smaller jars for double or triple that or the same price. So the source of the fish, very important. Most of them are farm-raised fish oils from big fish, which are way more toxic. The ones that we use come from fish like anchovies and sardines. What's the thing about anchovies and sardines? What's the size of them? Tiny. So they do not bioaccumulate toxins like these big tunas do, or these other big fishes that eat all the little fish and all these things. So they fill up the toxins, and these are obviously a lot harder to harvest wild. Okay, right? So, what's the difference? Because we have two. If you have inflammatory issues, all right, you want to be on an omega-3 only and have a higher dosage of that. So that's what the Pro Omega Intensive formula is. If you just want baseline health optimization or you're doing good, then you do the optimal because that has a blend of omega-3 and 6 and 9. Sorry, not 9, just 3 and 6. Okay? So maybe the better way to say it is maintenance, optimal omega, fixing something pro omega. Okay?
And how long does it take to fix it? How long do you have to do
Well,
it?
when your inflammation issues go away, right? I take every week though. I take some of this stuff because I don't eat fish. Because what's the best way to get fish? I'll eat fish, right?
Well, you're saying that
But
you don't have to take it every day.
I mean, I do because I don't want to be inflamed ever, or almost every single day. But I mean, seriously, if you eat fish, just don't worry about it. Eat fish, all right? But just make sure your fish is the right quality. So it's wild caught. Okay, smaller the better. All right. So none of this tilapia junk or catfish. Right? Those are bottom feeders, super toxic. So yeah, it should be mahi is okay or fine. Wild caught salmon is definitely fine. Yeah, like little tuna, not so great, right? Because it's a massive. Have you ever seen it? It's big tuna fish. They're like freaking like this big, right? So typically very toxic. Not always, but if they're from a wild caught, they're going to be better. Along with gut healing, bone broth, which a lot of people again have heard of that, and that's become popular too. Easy to make, very easy to get recipes for that. That's the best way to do it. I am not, Martha Stewart in the kitchen, or neither. My wife is good at cooking, but we don't like to just mess around with this stuff too much. So we just do Josh's bone broth protein, just way more easy. So I kind of mix back and forth between the whey and this one here because they both have different benefits and different things they're good at. This would be more like if you want to heal your leaky gut or you think you have leaky gut, this is the one I would probably start with first if you chose between the whey, okay, or not, because this is going to have more of a gut healing benefit, okay?
And that's, if the kids have acne, is that the leaky gut?
Yeah, that'd be better for them. Yep.
And now, wait a minute, well, which one? Because
Oh, this is all different flavors. Just
just the
just flavors.
flavor.
Yeah. And then they just took dehydrated or bone broth, dehydrated it down, put it in a powder. Simple as that.
So so the kids that don't get acne, are they?
They're either less toxic or better gut. Yeah. Or both. Because think about it, they're all raging those hormones back and forth like crazy, right? So
What?
Why do some get acne and why not then? If it's normal to get acne, why do some kids get acne and some don't?
I know, that's what I don't get.
There's a problem internally with that.
Okay.
Kids, some of you may have saw my Facebook, it was a little bit of a rant the other day. When I was saying that if supplements and vitamins and eating healthy is good enough for you, then it should be that much more valuable and important for your kids. Because you're already screwed up, so you might as well change something you can actually change, right? Which would be your kids. You have a chance to influence them and actually dramatically influence their health outcome the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Versus you, there's maybe a little bit of
Well,
hope.
all
for you
right, so
guys.
the only concern that I have is, and I'm for this and stuff, but, you know, the amount of money I have to put in my budget just for these supplements is quite extreme.
Yeah.
I mean, we're
Yes,
looking at like
you-
$300-400 a
You
month.
pick and you choose then, and if you need help with that, I can help you with that, but you pick and you choose. But I can tell you, I know families that are bankrupt because one of their kids got XYZ diagnosis. Preventable. You know what I mean? So it's a matter of perspective, and in hindsight, it's always going to be 20/20 on that, you know? But yeah, I'm with you. That's why, you know, I always try to do my best to help families triage and prioritize what. Last couple quick things, and I'll be done in 3 minutes, I promise here, so hang tight with me so we don't all trip over each other. We do specific nutritional testing here in our office. Now, I will say that there's probably only a couple of you in this room that are even ready to move to this step to start really boiling down what your body's needs are, because the reality is just most of you have not been even doing what you should be doing long enough for this test to be of any value. Does that make sense? Okay? Because if you did this test, you might find 50 things, or a test like it, 50 things that are wrong with you that if you just waited another 6 months of eating healthier, 40 of those might have disappeared, right? And then we just start chasing rabbit holes that could have been influenced or changed from that before. So the organics test, which is my favorite, it's the baseline. All my cancer patients that come in here get this. All my autoimmune patients that come in here get this now. Like, I pretty much won't work with you unless you get this test, because I just don't know enough about you unless you got that going on. It's the most cost-effective functional nutritional test on the market. It looks at your fat burning capabilities, blood sugar stabilization, energy production, methylation, which is a very specific DNA process in your body, toxins and detoxification abilities, antioxidants and oxidative stress, neurotransmitters turnover, and then intestinal bacterial overgrowth, aka digestive health. So everybody always asks, how much is that? It is $3.99 for that one. Like I said, most people are not even ready, so don't even, if you're not ready, don't even worry about that. But if you're like, oh, I'd like to do that, I'm gonna do $100 out, which is literally the lowest I can go without losing money on offering that test tonight. Again, this is more for like people that like want to go to a 12 out of 10 on my health. This is the test that I run. All right, this one right here. It's a snapshot of your body. Lastly, to keep everything in a perspective, eating healthy and exercising and detoxification for your body means nothing or very little if you have severe nerve distress or damage going on inside of your body. So that's why our first essential is core chiropractic, because without a proper functioning nervous system, you could be dumping $300 or $400 worth of supplements and organic food into your body, but if your digestive system is not able to digest and assimilate those nutrients properly, which system coordinates that? The nervous system, right? Money in, poop out, and that's it, okay? So this example, one picture, for example, is the lower back. You can see it's leaning that way right here. Well, these nerves, right in through here, go into the digestive organs. So whether this person has a digestive symptom or not, this person's digestive system cannot be functioning normally. So if this person was taking hundreds of dollars of supplements a month, I would tell them to stop. You're wasting your money. Fix that first. Or at least make sure you're fixing that along with doing that at the same time, so your body is going to be assistant. And the interesting part is we just, at the seminar that we were at, went over all this kinds of new amazing research that's coming out about chiropractic. We're actually finding out the majority of the research that's coming out in the last, or in the last couple of years and the next couple of years will be coming out, is showing that chiropractic has more positive influence on your brain than even the nerves itself. So it does that, but they're finding even a greater benefit to the health of your brain when you get adjusted, which is cool because that's the most important organ of your entire body. So good stuff. I'm gonna skip that one. You know, as important as it is to look at your teeth every single year, right? Which I'd say probably the majority of us in here do that. Like I think about by the time, before I had my first x-ray on my spine, I had like probably 10 x-rays, sets of x-rays on my teeth. And then I got an x-ray of my neck when I was 16, 17 years old, and it was straight as an arrow, and I was already starting to develop a little bit of arthritis, okay? And I think about how many people go through the majority of their life and they never ever get their spine looked at, and they have no idea what it looks like. And so this is the most important health test I think you could ever get done if you haven't had that done, or at least get it done regularly to know the health of your body, is get an x-ray, because that's the only definitive way to know if you have problems going on inside of your nerve system. So for those of you that have been patients here for a long time, you know, one of our greatest ways that we know that what we do is, for lack of a better term, loved and appreciated, is referrals. Because that means if you have got enough benefit from your health, then you tell somebody else, then we just kind of know, okay, like it's clicking and we're humming here. We do have a dinner. Lastly is this. So some of you are newer here in the office and you have not had a nutrition consult, or maybe you had one recently, which is great. Some of you have been under care for a long time and it's been a long time since you've had one. If you feel like you need kind of an individualized touch-up, refresher, whatever it is you want to say for that, Heather is our go-to person for that. And so, you know, depending on how much time you need, I'm not going to give you a cost of what that appointment costs, because it depends on how much you need. If you're just like, I just need like 15 minutes to like dial a few things in, boom, we can do that easily. Or if you're like, no, you know what, I need a reboot, okay? I mean, that's going to be, of course, a little bit more money to do that. So talk to Heather on the way out if you need one or the other, or maybe something in between for that, because she'll be the one that'll schedule a time we can meet. And it can be as simple as like, I just need some snack options, some breakfast options, yada, 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 whatever, okay? Or it's like, you know what, I need to lose 20 pounds by the end of the year, help me build a plan to do that, etc. Okay, for that. So she's your go-to person for that. I'm done. I'll hang up here for a few questions or whatever after we're done there. But